Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode here at Bareham Engines on a fine Monday afternoon. Right guys, so Isaac's left me. He's gone. He's gone on holiday for a fortnight. Absolute nightmare. Although the boy is entitled to a little bit of holiday. I'll give him that. I've actually got my 2 weeks planned for him being off. He did really well the last 2 or 3 weeks. We got 3 motors done basically. The Subaru's done and gone. What else was there? I can't remember what the other one was now. We got the 2.4 Transit, Land Rover, whatever it is. And there was another one, but my mind has gone blank. Never very good, my mind, on a Monday. But my 2 goals really in the next 2 weeks was, one, to get the Porsche done. So we've got all the Porsche bits here, all cleaned up, blasted, painted, and all the rest of it. And all the bits arrived. So we got the gaskets quite a while ago. We were struggling on the bearings, the crank bearings, and also the rings. Turns out that this is a 2.2, an early 2.2, and the 2.4s, the 2.2s, very similar, although this was a different ring layout to all the others. This was a 2.2T, and it had got the 5mm oil control ring, 5mm thick. Managed to get the rings and the bearings from Autodoc. So they come direct from Germany and they were here within the week. So absolutely fantastic. And I will be bearing that in mind. But first of all, guys, I'm going to be cracking on with this Cosworth. So this is the one that has been sitting there for quite some time, waiting for liners. This thing, if you haven't watched the videos on it before, probably 6 weeks ago, 6 weeks we've been waiting for the liners. This is the one that had the 200 block that was pretty much junk. The car came into us for a cam out and just a check over. We did that. We recommended to him that he change the oil because apparently he's just bought it, never got it running. Been running big power in the past. Turns out that this is a former Rayland engine, I do believe, many years ago I would have thought, and there was a problem with it. As soon as we dumped the oil, it turns out it was just cream, and there was about 6 litres of it in there. So basically the header tank for the radiator had just been emptying itself straight into the sump. Big problem. When we got to it, there was liners. If I just remove my dog a little bit, just move her over so I can get in this cupboard. Turns out that this is the box of the old bits. These are the liners that are in it. So these are, I do believe that they're a Capricorn item from many years ago, and whoever had done the engine had done them as a slide fit in the block. After plenty of heats got into the block, they are no longer a slide fit. They are sort of more than a slide fit because the housing of the block had ovaled about 4 thou. Also, there was a massive big, not so much crack, but like a big sort of hole in the side of the block here. So the water's going straight from the water jacket down the base here and straight into the sump. So I had to do something to rectify that block. And what I did was design a liner. Obviously, once the block's been honed and it's all cleaned up, so it's no longer oval, I managed to do a liner that is a good 3.5 thou interference. I put an O-ring on the base of the liner. So here is the base of the block now. You can see I've started to build it up. I've done a top hat flange at the top. So this is a good interference with a flange at the top, sealant down the bottom. I've also done a step right down the bottom, and there's about 1/4 mil between the base of the block and the bottom of the step there. So I put loads of Loctite all inside the bore. So when it's pushed down, it pushes against, in between, it sort of squeezes in between the liner and the base of the block as bout and braces. You can never be 100% certain with something like this, but I am pretty sure that this thing is not going to give any problems. I've done things like this before. I've even wet linered a Cosy block in this particular way, never had any problems. So I think what we've done here is we saved the 200 block. Could be good if we have. The customer is obviously aware he was given the choice to go away and buy a 200 block, but we all know now a good 200 block is a couple of grand. Then you've got to spend the money doing the long studs, etc., which this one already had, and also got the oil jets in the base of the block. So there's probably 2,500, 3 grand's worth of block and work, or we could have some liners made like this and see how we get on. So these are the piston squirters, and you can see these are not a standard item, and they are machined into the main oil gallery. And what they do is take oil from the main oil gallery. There's a little valve inside here that limits the pressure, so obviously you don't lose all your pressure through here, and it just squirts oil up through, when the engine's the right way round, to the base of the piston and cools the piston. and stops it from potentially seizing and all the rest of it. We've got 3 of these. Well, we've actually got 4, but we've got 3 with nozzles. So once upon a time, the nozzle has actually come out of there or had a clang up, something like that, and it's been missing. I can't identify these. I've had a word with Charlie at CTM. He seems to think he knows what they are, but trying to find some is non-existent. So luckily we've got the whole 4, but one of the nozzles is actually missing out of one. So what I've done is took Tom a donor one, like one of those. I've took the one with the nozzle missing, and I've also took him an old oil jet out of something else where the nozzle is very similar. So what I'm going to do is get him to take that out, braze it in there. I think it's brazed in there, and then sort of jiggery it so it's the same sort of shape. And we get a nice jet up, very similar to these, if not exactly the same. That's all we can do, really. John's just gone down the road to pick that up because Tom apparently has already done it. And the next step for me here, John has polished the crank. Isaac has balanced it all. I'm going to be putting that in, doing my dummy build with my plastic gauge, and see what the clearances are. Literally, as I speak, the rings have just turned up. So these are Hepalite rings, which if you speak to Mar Motorsport, Mark down there, Mark recommends these over the Marla Motorsport or the Marla rings. He says these are a superior ring to those for various reasons, and they're pretty much half the price. Not that we're concerned about the price really, it's just that they are a better ring if you are changing the rings on the Cosworth, apparently. So that's my next step, guys. I'm going to get the pistons and rods in, do me dummy build. Pretty much completed the head with the inlet manifold on. So we've got all the injectors on. I put all those on today, all 8 injectors. So that is the full RS500 setup, guys. So back in the day when you couldn't get anything bigger than maybe the greys, it probably was at the time, I'm not sure. They used to put 8 lots of injectors as opposed to 4. These days you can get the Siemens injectors and the like, which are big enough. You can have 4 big enough to run the power that these used to run, the 500s. But back in the day, got the 500 plenum with a separate fuel rail linked up at the back there, and that would be sufficient to fuel it for the power that they wanted to run back in the old touring car days. Downside to these manifolds is they are extremely expensive, and that is if you can find one now. You're better off these days just putting the equivalent of the injectors in there. You can run big power on those. Oh guys, for the second half of this video, I thought I'd just set the camera up, seeing as Isaac's not here to hold it. I'm going to proceed to do some calculations and some checks and build the bottom end on this with you watching. Bit of a change, isn't it, really? It's better than nothing. We're going to check the ring gaps on this first. I've fitted 2 pistons already. Now, the only thing is with these Hepalite rings is you do need to check the ring gaps, as opposed to the Marla ones, which are always big enough, to be honest with you. Very rarely do you have to gap them, but with the Hepalites of any kind, not just for the Cosies, we find that we always have to gap them. Sometimes the middle ring, so the oil scraper ring that is, and that is the one that goes above the oil control ring. But this one, in this case, is dead on 18th thou. So what I want to be aiming for with this engine, because it's a bit of a performance engine, I'm going to be aiming for 5 thou per inch. So if I just do a little calculation here, 90.8, if we divide that by 25.4, that gives us 3.575. So we call it 3.6, and that is 3.6 inch diameter bore. So if we go 3.6 times 5, so that's the 5 thou per inch we want to aim for, that gives us 18 thou we want to aim for there, guys. So we're looking really sort of 4.5 to 5 thou on this particular motor, especially on the top ring. And we've got 18 thou on the middle ring. So that one is absolutely fine. But this one is tight. This is about 10 thou, so that is nowhere near enough. So it's a good job we checked it. Although, as I say, the Marla ones are always okay, but I do always check them because you can never assume anything. We know what they say about assumption. It's the mother of all F-ups. So we have got next to nothing on this one, actually. This is a top ring. So if we just check this, what we got? So that's a top, that's 8 thou there. So yeah, getting on about 10 thou, I would have thought. So I'll just go through to the other room and I'll show you how I gap these, guys. Look at this, isn't this exciting? So this is the grinding wheel that, if I just turn that off for a second, this is the diamond grinding wheel that we use to face these tools. So these are the cutters for the Centronic. And I find this is an absolute perfect tool to gap your rings, because it's not like a file, especially with the top ring. A lot of them are chromium rings. If you start going at it with a file, you can chip them. So I find that grinding them is perfect, and this wheel here, being a diamond wheel, is absolutely bang on. Now, what we do, we've got a flat surface here which we use. It's a block that we put those preset tools in for the Centronic. So I find if we just lay the ring on there, it enables it to be nice and square on that plane there, so it's not, the ring's not like this. And then what I do, you can either sit it against the block at the back, but I tend to like to do it freehand. And I find if I just do a little, put my safety glasses on first. In fact, I've got my enhanced safety glasses here, guys, because I'm getting old and I can't really see very well. So what I do is lay it flat on there, just do one side of the ring, and you can sort of visibly, well, you can visibly see, if you put the ring up against the stone before it even touches, you can see if it's square or not. And then what I do is just rub it up and down. You sort of get a feel for this machine, make sure that the dust is off, and then if I put the ring together, you can see whether it's square or not. If there's a bit of a gap at the top, you know you need to take a little bit more off the bottom, so tilt the ring round, and vice versa. If it's a bit of a gap at the bottom, you need to take more off the front edge. But that is absolutely cock on, because I've sort of got the hang of this. And then all we've got to do, go through to the other room and check it. So we'll put the ring in the bore here. We find our 18 thou feeler gauge. Where are we? There he is. Get all the other ones out of the way. And that is absolutely perfect. I would say that's getting on sort of 19. So absolutely perfect, guys. What I'm going to do is I'm going to deburr this now, where sometimes you have like a little sharp edge front, top and bottom, which I just literally get my little bit of wet and dry. And you don't want to take too much, just literally taking that sharp edge off, and on the back. And all that does is make sure that it's this can still slide around in the ring groove, and we haven't got any sort of sharp edge there, which is going to remove material from our piston. So what we'll do is we'll put our middle ring on. On the middle ring, well, the middle ring and the top ring, a lot of the time you've got a marking at the top of the ring which goes upwards, and this one has actually got top on the ring, which means it's facing up towards the top. And the same with this one, especially on the middle ring, because a lot of the time, they call that the oil scraper ring. Sometimes they've got like a little groove which goes at the bottom to scrape the oil down. If you put the ring upside down or the wrong way up, it can scrape the oil upwards, and that's where you get oil burning. So we set the ring gaps sort of opposed to each other. I'm going to take my glasses off now. For a minute, it takes me a minute or two before I can see. Get my ring clamp. I've already oiled the bores up. You just do that up sort of tight, and then we take our mallet, and this is number 3. Make sure that the piston is the right way round, which I didn't because it was the wrong way. And you just tap that ring clamp all the way round to make sure it's seated on top of the block. And just gently ease that piston down until it goes just below the surface. And then what I do is, there we go. The piston is now all the way to the bottom, and we know that the big end shell and the rod is sitting on the crank. So what I do when I'm putting the pistons in, I set the crankshaft in a 12 o'clock position. So you've got 2 of the journals at 12 o'clock, 2 at 6 o'clock, and you know then that the rod is going to be swinging and it's going to sit down on the journal. So 2 of them are going to be up TDC, the other ones are going to be up bottom dead center. So there we go, guys. I've got one more to do, then I'll get that in. What I've done also, because we're on TDC, this one is actually number 4. What I do while I'm there is, because we face the block, I want to check the piston height. So what I do is get my vernier. You can use a micrometer if you want, and just put it down flat on the block and make sure it's zeroed. And then what I do is measure one side of the piston and then the opposing side of the piston in this axis here, and take an average. So 12 thou there, and we've got 10 thou there. So that's an average of 11 thou protrusion, which means before I face the block, these pistons were probably sitting about, I don't know, about 7 thou proud. We like to aim for about 12. If we put standard Cosworth pistons in, because these are Amigas, standard Cosworth pistons would probably be proud if no one's took anything off them before. But they are absolutely bang on. I have done the running clearance on the main journals, not the big ends yet. On the main journals, so you can see there, my plaster gauge on the mains. And if I just measure that with my little gauge, sorry guys, my camera works terrible. Like I've shown you loads of times before, guys, thickness of that is bang on 2 thou. Mains are perfect, so all I've got to do now is get my number 1 piston down the hole, plaster gauge all these big ends. If they're all good, between 1.8, 2, something like that, we are good to go. Get those torqued up, and away we go, guys. Perfect. Well, thank you very much for watching. Until another video, which will probably be Wednesday, have a great evening. Cheers, guys.